Every Monday, the carry-on crew arrives here, the departure lounge, before the adventure begins. So welcome aboard. Can I tell you something? I actually love airports. Now, I know some of you looked at the screen and thought, Christy, there is no way. And I get it, because for a whole lot of people, the airport is the most stressful part of the entire vacation. And honestly, it shouldn't even be like that. Somewhere between leaving the house, finding parking, checking bags, getting through security, finding the gate, wondering if you're at the right gate, wondering if your suitcase even made it, wondering if your flight is delayed. People are already worn out before the vacation even begins. And then they finally get on the plane, sink down into their seat, take a deep breath, and think, whew, I'm exhausted. Friend, you haven't even left the ground yet. But here's what I've noticed after years of traveling. When I walk into an airport, I usually see two completely different travelers. The first traveler, they're walking with a purpose. Coffee in hand, carry on rolling behind them, boarding pass already up on their phone. They already know where they're going. They're not rushing, they're not panicking, they're just moving. And then there's the second traveler. Bless their heart. They're standing in the middle of the terminal, looking at the departure board, looking back at their phone, looking at the departure board again, digging through their purse, checking every pocket, trying to remember where they put their driver's license. The kids are asking questions. The spouse is asking questions. Everybody's talking at once. And somehow they're convinced they're the only people running late. Now, here's the interesting part about that. Those two travelers, they walked into the very same airport. They stood in the very same security line. They boarded the very same airplane. So what made the difference? It wasn't luck. It wasn't even experience. And it definitely wasn't because one airport was better than the other. It was something much more simpler than that. One traveler had a system. The other one was hoping everything just worked out. And hoping is not a travel strategy. Today, I'm going to show you the exact airport system that has completely changed the way we travel. Not because everything always goes perfectly. It doesn't, believe me. Flights get delayed, weather happens, gates changes. Technology has a mind of its own sometimes. Travel is still travel. But when you have a system, those things become inconveniences instead of emergencies. By the time we're finished today, I want you walking into your next airport feeling calm, confident, and ready for the adventure ahead. Because your vacation shouldn't begin when you land. It should begin the moment you walk through those airport doors. All right, grab your coffee, get comfortable. We've got a flight to catch. Hey, carry on crew. Welcome back to another travel talk with Christy. And I'm so glad you're here. Whether you're watching from home, on your lunch break, or maybe you're waiting at gate B12, wondering if boarding is ever going to start. Welcome aboard. Go ahead and grab your coffee, your tea, or if you're already on vacation, something frozen with a tiny umbrella in it. Because today we're having another grown folks travel conversation. So, can we talk for a minute? Have you ever noticed that vacation doesn't usually start with the airport? It starts with the chaos. Seriously now, think about your last trip. You probably spent weeks getting excited. You bought new outfits, ordered travel size toiletries, started a packing list, watched YouTube videos, checked the weather every day, even though you knew it wasn't even going to change your flight. Then airport day arrives and suddenly everything just completely changes. Now you're asking yourself questions like, did I lock the front door? Did I leave the curling iron plugged in? Where's my passport? Did I pack my medicine? Wait, did I actually put my passport back in my purse after I checked the expiration date? Tell me I'm not the only one who's checked for my passport while it's already in my hand. Or how about this one? You pull out of the driveway, get halfway down the road, and somebody says, I forgot my charger. Why is it always the charger? I don't know what it is about chargers, but they seem determined to stay home. Then you finally make it to the airport. You unload the luggage, you find a cart, find the airline counter, stand in line, check your bags, and before you've even made it through the front doors, you're already tired. I mean, exhausted. Woo! Now, here's something I've noticed. Most people think airports are stressful because airports are crowded. I don't think that's the real reason. I think airports are stressful because they remove certainty. At home, you know where everything is. You know your routine. You know where your keys are. You know where the coffee is. You know what comes next. At the airport, everything changes. You're in an unfamiliar place, surrounded by thousands of strangers, looking at signs, listening for announcements, watching giant departure boards flip from one destination to another. It's a lot, believe me, I know. Especially if you don't travel often. And you know what? That's okay. Because we've all been there. Every single traveler, even the ones who make it look easy, started somewhere. Nobody was born knowing how airport security works. Nobody came into this world understanding boarding groups or baggage claim or connecting flights. We all had to learn. The difference is some people eventually developed a system, and systems create confidence. Confidence creates calm, and calm helps you think clearly. And when you think clearly, the airport suddenly feels like a whole lot smaller. And can I tell you what I see all the time? I'll be sitting at the gate waiting to board. And I love people watching, not in a creepy way, just observing. You can almost tell who's nervous. They're checking the gate number every 30 seconds. They're looking at their boarding pass again, looking up at the screen, checking the app, looking around, then checking the screen one more time. Nothing has changed, but they check again anyway. Why? Because they're afraid they're going to miss something. They're afraid they're going to mess up. They're afraid everybody else knows what they're doing except them. Friend, can I let you in on a little secret? Half the people walking through that airport are making it up as they go too. The difference is some people panic while they're figuring it out. Other people simply follow the next step. That's all travel really is. One step, then another, then another. Nobody gets through an airport by thinking about all 47 steps at once. You check your bag, then you go to security, then you find your gate, then you board your plane. One decision at a time, one step at a time. That's what a good system does. It keeps you from feeling like you have to solve the whole day all at once. And you know, when people tell me I hate airports, I usually smile because most of the time they don't actually hate airports. They hate the feeling airports give them. They hate feeling rushed. They hate feeling unprepared. They hate wondering if they're forgetting something. They hate feeling like everybody knows what they're doing. But once you replace uncertainty with a system, something amazing happens. The airport stops feeling like an obstacle and it starts feeling like the beginning of the adventure. You start noticing things you never noticed before. The excitement, the anticipation. Families headed to Disney, couples celebrating anniversaries, friends taking a girls' trip, business travelers heading to meetings, college students going home. Everybody's story is different. But for a few hours, we're all headed somewhere. And I think there's something kind of beautiful about that. So today, I want to help you stop surviving airport day and start enjoying it. Because I promise you, it doesn't have to be chaotic. And once you have a system, you'll wonder how you ever traveled without one. Now, before I show you that system, you know we've got to do one thing first because bless their hearts, we have all been this traveler at least once. All right, y'all know what time it is. It's time for bless their hearts. Now, if you're new to Travel Talks, let me explain this segment. This isn't about making fun of people. Because if we're being honest, every story I'm about to tell you, I've either done it myself, watched somebody else do it, or laughed about it later because it all worked out. So if you hear yourself in one of these, just smile. Welcome to the club because we've all been there. So let's start right at security. You know exactly who I'm talking about. The line has been moving for 15 minutes. Everybody can clearly see the TSA officers. Everybody knows what's coming next. Shoes off, laptop out, liquids out, boarding pass ready, ID in hand. That's simple enough, right? Then somehow, the very second they step up to the conveyor belt, it's like they've never seen an airport before in their life. Oh, goodness. Where's my driver's license? Hold on, my phone, my watch, my belt, my jacket, my boarding pass, my AirPods, my water bottle. Meanwhile, the whole line behind them has quietly accepted the fact that they're all going to be there another 10 minutes. Bless their hearts. Then there's the traveler carrying one backpack, one purse, a neck pillow, a shopping bag, a blanket, a drink, a snack, three charger cords hanging out the zipper, and they're still trying to answer a phone call. How? I can barely carry my coffee without dropping something. Airport day isn't a CrossFit competition. If you're struggling to carry everything before you even board it, it might be time to rethink what you're bringing. Because remember, everything you pack has to travel with you. Can we talk about this one? Why? Why? Why do people stand up the very second the gate agent says, we'll begin boarding in about 15 minutes? 15 minutes. Nobody is boarding. Nobody is moving. But suddenly, everybody forms a crowd right in front of the gate. Now, the people who actually need to board first can't even get through. And the funny part about that, we're all getting on the same airplane. Nobody's flying away without us. I promise, if you're boarding group 7, standing in front of the podium isn't going to magically turn into boarding in group 1. Go ahead and stay seated. Finish your coffee. Stretch your legs. You'll get there. Then there's the person packing at midnight for a 6 o'clock flight. Now listen, no judgment. I procrastinated before myself. But when you're trying to remember if you packed your passport while simultaneously deciding whether 3 pairs of black shoes are absolutely necessary, you're setting yourself up for stress. Airport day starts the night before, not the morning of. We'll talk more about that in just a few minutes. This one makes me laugh because I've caught myself doing it. I don't need to write it down. I'll remember. Really? Will you? Because if you're anything like me, you can walk into the kitchen, forget why you walked in there, turn around, walk back into the living room, and suddenly remember. Travel days are not the time to trust your memory. Write it down. Use your phone or make a checklist. Future you will thank you. Now, let's have a quick conversation about airport outfits. Ladies and gentlemen, if it takes 10 minutes to get dressed, it's probably going to take you 10 minutes to get undressed at security. boots with 14 buckles, belts that require engineering degrees, stacks of bracelets, necklaces that somehow knock themselves up together. Friend, airport day is not the day. Save the fashion show for dinner after you arrive. Give yourself an easy win. Wear comfortable clothes, shoes that come off easily, minimal jewelry. Trust me, you'll thank yourself when you're walking away from security while nobody else is still wrestling with a knee-high boot. And finally, there's the family that's convinced they've missed the flight. Even though the departure board says there's 45 minutes early. One person's speed walking, one person's pushing the stroller. Somebody's carrying stuffed animals, dad pulling two suitcases, mom saying hurry, the kids saying I'm hungry. Everybody's stressed, and then they get to the gate. Only to find out boarding doesn't begin for another half hour. We've all felt the panic before, but here's the good news. That feeling isn't caused by the airport. It's caused by uncertainty. And the uncertainty disappears when you have a plan. So today's Bless Their Heart goes out to every traveler who's ever forgotten where they put their ID, packed too much, wore the wrong shoes, or stood at the gate wondering if they were somehow about to miss a flight that hadn't even started boarding yet. We've all had those moments. The difference is we don't have to keep having them. Because in just a minute, I'm going to walk you through the exact airport system that has helped us travel through the airport without starting our vacation stressed out. No guessing, no chaos, just a simple system that works. And trust me, you're going to want to steal this one. Well, all right, let's talk about responsible adults. Now, every time I say that, somebody laughs because they think I'm about to fuss. But I'm not. Matter of fact, responsible adults have some of the best vacations. Not because they're perfect, not because nothing ever goes wrong, but because they've learned something that changes everything. They don't rely on luck. They rely on a system. And that's exactly what I want to give you today. Not 50 airport hacks, not 10 gadgets you have to buy, just a simple system that takes the guesswork out of airport day. So let's board. If you don't remember anything else from today's episode, remember this. Airport day does not begin when your alarm goes off. It begins the night before. This is where so much stress is created. You're packing at 11 o'clock, trying to remember if you packed your medication, charging your phone, looking for your passport, trying to decide which shoes to wear. Friend, you're making decisions when you're already tired. That's never a good combination. Here's what we do before we go to bed. The suitcases are zipped, the carry-on is packed, electronics are charging, travel documents are together, clothes are laid out, shoes are by the door. Even the coffee pot is ready. Why? Because Morning Christy is not making 100 decisions. Morning Christy has one job. Wake up, get dressed, and go. That's it. And let me tell you, starting your travel day without running around the house looking for your sunglasses is a wonderful feeling. Most airlines let you check in 24 hours before your flight. So set an alarm. Seriously, don't try to remember. Let your phone remember for you. The minute check-in opens, check in. Then do one more thing. Screenshot your boarding pass. Now I know somebody's thinking, but it's already in the app. Yes, usually. Until your signal disappears or the airport Wi-Fi decides it's taking a little vacation its own. Ask me how I know. A screenshot doesn't need Wi-Fi. It doesn't care if your app freezes. It's just there, ready when you need it. One tiny habit, a whole lot less stress. Can we stop treating our carry-on like a junk drawer? Everything in that bag should have a purpose. Mine always has the essentials: passport, wallet, medications, chargers, headphones, a pen. Yes, a pen. You'd be surprised how often you'll use one. A reusable water bottle, a light sweater, and one change of clothes. Now, some people ask, why the extra clothes? Because luggage sometimes decides it wants a vacation too. It doesn't happen often, but if it does, you're not standing in the airport wishing you packed one clean outfit. You're already prepared. That's what a system does. It doesn't expect problems, it simply respects the possibility. Airport fashion has changed over the years, and honestly, I'm here for comfortable. You don't have to wear pajamas, but you also don't have to dress like you're walking the runway. Think about your day. You're sitting, walking, standing, going through security, maybe changing planes. So comfort matters. Shoes that slip off easily, layers, minimal jewelry, pockets that actually work. Because every little decision you simplify is one less thing demanding your attention. And can I confess something? One of my favorite moments on airport day is when we're through security. We found our gate, we've grabbed a coffee, and we're just sitting. No rushing. No wondering, no panic, just watching airplanes take off. And we're also listening to the announcements. People watching. That's when the vacations starts for me. Not because I'm on the plane, because I'm no longer worried about making the plane. And there's a big difference. Give yourself that gift. Don't plan to arrive with 5 minutes to spare. Give yourself time to breathe. Time changes everything. And notice, I didn't say know every step, just the next one. And when you leave the house, your next step is getting to the airport. When you check your bags, your next step is security. After security, your next step is finding your gate. Then maybe grabbing breakfast, then boarding. Life gets overwhelming when you try to think about everything at once. Travel is the same way. One step, then the next, and that's all. Now, does this system guarantee that your flight will never be delayed? No. Does it guarantee perfect weather? No. Does it guarantee that airports will suddenly stop being busy? Absolutely not. But here's what it does guarantee: you'll show up prepared, you'll think more clearly, you'll spend less time reacting and more time enjoying the journey. Because when you have a system, confidence replaces confusion, peace replaces panic, and the airport becomes what it was always meant to be: the beginning of an adventure. And people sometimes ask me, Christy, do you ever get nervous when you travel? Of course I do. Things happen. Flights get delayed, weather changes, plans shift, but I don't panic anymore because I've learned to trust the system. And speaking of learning, let me tell you why I believe that so strongly. Because this next lesson I learned the hard way. Ask me how I know. All right, all right. It's time for one of my favorite segments. Ask me how I know. If you've been with me since episode 1, you already know what this means. This is the part where I admit I've learned a whole lot of lessons the hard way. And honestly, I'm okay with that. Because if my mistakes can keep you from making the same ones, then they were worth it. Today's lesson: a system doesn't stop surprises. It keeps surprises from becoming disasters. Ask me how I know. People sometimes think experienced travelers have some kind of secret. Like we walk into an airport, flash a smile, and everything just magically falls into place. I wish. The truth is, we've had delayed flights, gate changes, long security lines, weather delays, connecting flights that suddenly moved across the airport. Lord, you should see me trying to run. But we've experienced all of it. Travel doesn't stop being unpredictable just because you've traveled more. What changes is how you respond. And that's where your system comes your best friend. I remember sitting at a gate one day when the announcement came over the speaker. Attention passengers. Now, anytime an announcement starts with those words, everybody immediately looks up. You could almost feel the tension in the room. People started grabbing their phones, walking to the counter, looking around, trying to figure out what was happening. Some people were frustrated. Some were worried. Some looked like they were ready to give up before they even knew the whole story. And I remember thinking, this is exactly why I tell people to prepare before they leave home. Because when something unexpected happens, your stress level isn't determined by the announcement. It's determined by how prepared you were before the announcement. When your phone is charged, your boarding pass is already saved, your essentials are in your carry on, you've allowed extra time, you've already won half the battle. You're not scrambling, you're simply adjusting. There's a difference. And can I tell you something I've noticed over the years? Calm is contagious. Have you ever seen someone at the airport who just had this peaceful confidence about them? They're not rushing, they're not complaining, they're not making everyone around them nervous. They simply handle whatever comes next. I've watched those travelers. And you know what they usually have? Not better luck, better habits. That's it. Little habits repeated over and over and over again. Checking in early, packing with intention, knowing where their documents are, leaving home with enough time. Nothing fancy, just consistent. The same is true in so many parts of life. Confidence usually doesn't come from talent, it comes from preparation. Travel is no different. Now, let me say something that might surprise you. If you're a nervous traveler, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not bad at traveling. You don't need to be embarrassed because airports make you anxious. You simply haven't found a system that works for you yet. And that's okay. Every confident traveler you see was once a first time traveler. Every person who walks through security like they've done it 1,000 times had a first time, had a first trip, had a first boarding pass, had a first security line, had a first connection. They learned just like you will. You don't compare your beginning to somebody else's 20th trip. Just focus on your next one. Make it a little calmer than the last. Then make the one after that even better. Before long, you'll be the traveler somebody else is watching, thinking, I wish I looked that relaxed. Little did they know, you're just following your system. That's all. And that's exactly what I hope happens for every member of the Carry On crew. Not that travel becomes perfect, but that travel becomes enjoyable. Because that's what vacations are supposed to be. Not stressful, not overwhelming, not something you survive, something you experience. So that's today's Ask Me How I Know. And now, before we board this week's final flight, I've got something I'd like you to take with you. Let's get your boarding pass. Well, Carry On crew, we've reached one of my favorite moments of every travel talk. This is Christy's boarding pass. Now, every week before we leave the departure lounge, I want to send you out with something practical. Not 50 tips you'll never remember. Just a few things you can tuck into your carry-on and hopefully into your heart. So here's your boarding pass for today. And if there's one thing I hope you remember after today's conversation, it's this. Tomorrow's peace is usually created today. Lay your clothes out. Charge your electronics. Double check your travel documents. Zip your suitcase. Set your alarm. And then go to bed. Sleep. Because you deserve to start your vacation rested, not already exhausted. Your future self will thank you. Hope is wonderful. I hope the weather is beautiful. I hope the flight is on time. I hope baggage claim is quick. But responsible travelers don't build their plans on hope. They build them on preparation. Hope for the best, prepare for the unexpected. Those two things can exist together. And when they do, travel becomes a whole lot more enjoyable. Can I challenge you with something? The next time you walk through those airport doors, don't tell yourself this is the stressful part. Instead, tell yourself this is where the adventure begins. Listen to the excitement around you. Watch the airplanes take off. Smile at the family taking their very first trip. Notice the grandparents holding hands. Seeing the little kids with backpacks almost bigger than they are. There's something special about airports. For a few hours, thousands of people from completely different walks of life are all headed towards something. A reunion, a honeymoon, a graduation, a dream vacation, a fresh start. It's actually a pretty incredible place when you stop and look around. So don't rush through it. Enjoy it. Because your vacation doesn't begin when the plane lands. It begins with that very first step into the airport. And before next Monday, I want you to do one simple thing. Open the Notes app on your phone or grab a piece of paper. Then create your own airport day checklist. Not mine, yours. Write down the things that help you feel calm. Maybe it's checking in exactly 24 hours before. Maybe it's laying your clothes out the night before. Maybe it's arriving early enough to grab breakfast before boarding. Whatever helps you walk into the airport with confidence. Write it down because every great system starts with one simple habit, and habits become confidence. Well, carry on, crew. That's our final boarding call for today. I hope you leave here remembering one thing. The airport isn't your enemy. It's not something you have to survive. It's simply the first chapter of your vacation story. And the better your beginning, the better your journey usually becomes. Thank you for spending part of your day here with me in the Departure Lounge. I truly appreciate every comment, every question, every story you share. That's what makes this community so special. Now, I want to hear from you. What's one airport habit you've learned that makes travel easier? Or what's one airport mistake you'll never make again? Drop it in the comments because somebody in our carry-on crew is going to read your answer and probably learn something that makes their next trip a little easier. And if today's travel talk helped you, share it with someone who's always convinced they're going to miss their flight, even when they're 3 hours early. And if you're not already part of the Carry On crew, I love to have you join us every Monday right here in the Departure Lounge. Now, next week, we're tackling something that's been responsible for overstuffed suitcases, extra baggage fees, and a whole lot of frustration. We're talking about why most people pack for possibilities instead of reality. If you ever sat on your suitcase, asked somebody to zip it closed, or pack 6 pairs of shoes just in case, you're definitely going to want to join me. Until then, keep your carry-on light, your passport ready, and your heart open for whatever adventure comes next. Now, carry on.